Okay. So, all right. So we're back. If the kids can keep it down.
Oh my gosh.
If. It's a big if.
Children are such a blessing.
Whoever said that probably wasn't a parent. It's probably somebody at a church somewhere watching the screaming children being dragged out of the church by their parents. What a blessing. Um. All right. So we're back into the end of the book here, Into the Void, Volume 3. Second portion of the book here. Sheldon Brooks has lost everything he held dear. He looks out his window and sees nothing. The city is empty for him now. His life has been in vain. He had been an idealist, and now, as he thinks about the way his life has turned upside down, he knows he's been overestimating his chances of doing well in life. His wife and kids had been his life, and he woke up one day to find them gone. There was no rhyme or reason, but he had been arguing with her a lot lately over his state of mind. It was just another brick in the wall that separated him from the rest of the world. He was unable to find any silver lining right now. Life on Earth had been bad for a long time. The planet had been decimated in a war with Ultil, and Sheldon had been one of the last soldiers on the front lines. He had tried to repel the invaders, and now his planet lived under their rule, and he was one of the very few people who were left. The war had gone on for over a century, and aside from posturing and public relations issues, there had been sporadic battles, and every battle had been intense and cost a lot of lives. Though he had lived as a soldier for a long time, he had also worked as a researcher into the always touchy and rather ridiculed idea of time travel. The world had dreamed of time travel, and that desire had been stronger recently than ever. Food was scarce, and the Altilians in charge were enjoying the suffering of the people left behind. Sheldon puts on his jacket. He doesn't know for sure where he's going. He only knows he no longer has a home of his own. His wife and kids are gone, and he's gutted. If the occupying forces decided to shoot him now, he could hardly blame them. He heads out his front door and starts to make his way down the street. There's a car on fire on the side of that street, likely involved in a shootout which kept him awake for part of the night. It wasn't his car, so he doesn't stop to look at what happened. That's a bad idea in this day and age. Just move along. The street once was filled with the sound of children playing in their yards. This affluent neighborhood was a rarity on what had been an overcrowded world. Sheldon rounds a corner on his street, heads towards the only corner store within striking distance. He's then stopped and turns around. He does a double take. What the hell do you want? Haven't seen you in a while, my friend, a huddled figure says quietly as he looks around. Robin left me, Sheldon says with a heavy sigh. The huddled figure is Sheldon's friend from childhood, Jason Marcus, a man who was once a successful businessman until the business was destroyed in one of the many battles that besieged this world. Their friendship had become strained as Jason's psyche had been forever damaged by losing his business and livelihood as a result of the Altilian attacks. This was actually the first time they'd seen each other in months. Jason recoils at word that Robin had left Sheldon. I'm not hearing you right. I was best man at your wedding. Yeah, I know I was there. Look, I don't want to get caught out on the streets like this. I feel exposed and was just heading to the store or wherever. I can't be at my house right now, Sheldon says while trying to be as polite as possible. Jason nods in agreement. Look, I've been working on something. I've been working on this since the day they blew my place up. Those dirty buggers. There's a glint of something vengeful behind his eyes, but he suppresses it quickly and manages a smile towards Sheldon. It's important you come with me. Sheldon looks skyward. There's no sign of any remote droids capable of causing them any hassles. The Altilian surveillance isn't what it was a few years ago, as they feel no fear of Earth trying to rise up against them. He turns towards Jason, and even though he wants to say no, he instead shrugs and says, Yeah, okay, sure, let's go. Jason can hardly contain his excitement as Sheldon follows him down the street. Again, it is a lack of noise that causes Sheldon's skin to crawl. He tries to keep his eyes on Jason, but even that is hard to do considering the proud man that Jason had been and how he is now. Jason Marcus had been born into money. He had inherited his father's ammunition business at a young age due to his father dying in one of the many battles at that time. Jason had managed to build Marcus Ammunition up to Earth's leading manufacturer quickly, and he had been proud of his aid to his people against the invaders they despised so much. Jason had always wanted to prove he was the rightful man in charge, and that nepotism merely got him the job, while his track record would keep him there. Sheldon finds his eyes are drawn down to the grass in the front yards here. The grass is thick and lush, unlike his own lawn, which had suffered from neglect due to the other things being more important. Even without asking, he knew Jason maintained these yards as a way of trying to maintain some sort of a normal life in this dark time. As the grass grew greener and fuller, he knew they were closer to Jason's house. Jason may have lost his business, but his home is still remarkable in a time of riots, looting, and starvation. He has a 5-bedroom home, 3 floors worth of home just for him. This house looks immaculate even now, and Jason reveals why as they reach the front lawn. Jason draws out a remote control which he uses to turn off an invisible defense shield meant for spaceships he's had fitted to defend his house. Does that protect from aerial attacks too? Sheldon asks, genuinely impressed. Jason smirks. I've been lucky no one's tried attacking from above, he answers. The neighborhood kids tried to run the damn thing a few times. Messed one kid up pretty bad. It's not the volts that kill, it's the current. The thing is, that little idiot's parents came over and started yelling at me when their kid was the one trying to break in here. The kid died? Jason turns and looks at Sheldon deadpan. Do I look like a doctor? The kid went down. Parents were all raged up. I didn't bother asking for details or send the kids flowers or anything. It is what it is. If that kid had been raised right, he wouldn't have tried running the shield. Jason, you don't even have a warning sign out there. I did. That just caused the douchebags to throw rocks at the shield and test it from the front and back. I took the sign down. That seems to have helped. Well, the convulsing kid helped too. Look. Jason says as he opens the front door and leads Sheldon inside. I was never known as a real people person, and you know that. I see some kid trying to get in my house. I don't feel sorry for him. There are things in here that are just for me and for my friends. That's why I brought you here. Sheldon looks around at what had been Jason's living room. Now it's filled with parts to various weapons that Marcus Ammunition has manufactured. There are a few makeshift guns resting next to the couch, and it appears that Jason sleeps on it, likely facing the door to deal with any marauders who might make it past his front lines of defense. Jason motions for Sheldon to follow him into the kitchen. Instead of finding the usual appliances and food there's a large gun sitting on the floor, propped up by a tripod. What is this? Sheldon asks as a shudder passes through him. He knows how advanced the weapon systems had been in the Marcus plant, and this was likely a weapon that could cause substantial damage and loss of life. This is Jason 1, my friend. This is what I cobbled together from my extensive experience with firearms development. See, a lot of people take for granted that I ran the company, and there was little attention paid to the fact I had a hand in development of everything that came through it as well after my takeover. This weapon will set us free, my friend. It doesn't just kill, it doesn't just cook the inside of those barbaric Altilian weapons. This will disintegrate anything I aim it at. I just adjust the dials on the sides here that control the spread and the power behind the shot. I could vaporize a rabbit from 100 feet away or vaporize the entire field that rabbit's on. The power all rests with me. Sheldon's genuinely frightened now. So how big of a spread are we talking about here? How much power are we talking about? Jason smiles and actually lets out a little laugh. There's no telling how long he's been wanting to show this weapon to another living soul, or how badly he wants to escape this living hell of an existence his people have. See, Altel won this war. They managed to cheat their way to that victory, and now this weapon will get us back into the game. The range on this weapon's about 1,000 feet. Beyond that, it'll kill anything I aim at for another 2,000 feet, and there'll be some disintegration as well. There'll be a puddle, basically, if I use it at full power. For 5,000 feet beyond that, it's going to be very painful and fatal for the less healthy targets. And you just have one. Jason nods. That's the term Jason 1, Sheldon. I need to get this gun into the right hands, have it mass-produced, and then we'll turn this thing around and every Altilian's going to get vaporized. Sheldon's still scared. What if the mentally unstable Jason has done something wrong with his manufacturing his weapon and it blows up? He'll never see Robin again if that's the case. He doesn't want his childhood friends to sense this fear, but he doesn't want to be in the line of fire either. You forget the Altilian Civil War from 50 years ago? Not all Altilians are monsters, and you know that. We saw that even during the end days of the war here. Sheldon, if it isn't supposed to be on this planet, I'm going to kill it. They don't discriminate when they attack us, and I won't afford them any extra pity than they afforded us. Sheldon looks at the gun and sighs. So what's your plan exactly? We're leaving Earth, Jason replies. Next scene. Carissa hasn't been breathing well since they found out they're in the future. That worsens as they come through the wormhole into orbit around Earth, and what they see is barely recognizable. The crew stands side by side and they look in horror at their future, the fate of the world they call home. Are those fires, she asks, pointing at long trails emanating from near the equator. Nathan looks at the numbers he's getting and his heart sinks. I'm getting a lot of data here, but that's Earth. Those are fires, and according to what I'm seeing here, life signs down there are rather sparse. Something really bad's happened here. John had been horrified at the swath of destruction left behind when the Altilians had destroyed their ship in orbit around Earth. That had killed millions, and at the time he had last seen Earth, there was some doubt as to whether that cleanup would ever be completed. The disease had broken out afterward, but the disease that broken out afterward had been disheartening for his world. That attack had also left Earth believing that they likely could not match the strength of the Altilian forces. It had caused both an increase in the number of people willing to go to war and an outcry against such a seemingly pointless battle against a superior foe. That attack had been terrible, and yet now, what they were seeing with their own eyes was a global version of that destruction. We have to get out of here, John says. Nathan, get us anywhere but here, he says, but their ship is rocked by a shot fired from behind them. Oh, crap, Nathan says. We have 2 warships behind us, like crap ton of guns on these things? Nathan tries to keep his hand steady while readying to take their ship out of the area. There's no way we can outrun these guys or outgun them, so I'm going to do a random jump. You can't do that. Who knows where we'll end up, Carissa protests. We'll be dead if he doesn't, John says, and another shot rocks their ship and it rolls and creaks. The shields hold, but they're not going to last long against such bombardment. The ship lurches forward into a wormhole that Nathan's been able to create using random numbers and with his fingers crossed. They move forward even as more shots hit the ship. They head through the wormhole and Nathan fires a shot aft using their weapons, which he's certain won't damage their attackers. The ship emerges in another sector of the galaxy, almost inside a nebula. The visually striking backdrop isn't appreciated as the crew tries to catch their breath. They all stand still for a few moments as if expecting the Altilians to track their position and meet them here. They then exchange a look at one another, and this lasts a few moments before John speaks. Okay, so we're screwed right now. Anyone have any suggestions? Carissa scratches her head. So we can't go home because apparently Earth's been conquered. We can't go back to our time because we don't know how we ended up in this time. It's really pretty out there, but we don't seem to have anywhere to go right now. John looks out the window at the nebula in front of the ship. I can't go back to the past right now anyway. I want to know what happened here. I don't know that we will find our answers on Earth, so maybe we should snoop around Falteres and see if there's any answers there. Nathan raises his hand. But John, what if they're conquered too? What if those Altilians were shooting at us and they won their war over both our worlds and Mike's, he says in reference to Mike Translow. Let's not think about it that way right now, Nathan. Get us to Falteres. If things aren't better there, I doubt we'll ever get home. Yeah, that's the end of Chapter 1. There we go. Chapter 2. Mike sits and glares at Gora. You have to be kidding. These are my terms, Gora says before leaning back and relaxing as much as he can considering his state of imprisonment. Mike isn't good at reading Altilian facial expressions. He wants to know whether or not Gora is serious. In his attempt to discover what force might have attacked Altil, Gora told him he'll work with Mike only if he's freed from prison to do so. Dradgen's still present, and he has voiced his disapproval of this concept. He still wants to make his stance clear, though. I am stunned you'd even think about it, Mike. Gora's responsible for so much death and destruction. He's helped prolong the enslavement of my people, and even now, his forces are occupying Altair and doing Lord knows what in the light of the newly declared war. Mike nods, but he doesn't take his eyes off Gora. You make good points, my friend, but we need to know what's going on, and this man knows. See, I've sent the E-215 to near the center of the galaxy manned by Division 1. They're going to look into a hunch I have regarding recent events. Gora leans forward and seems interested. See, you're on the right track, Mike. You just have no way of knowing what to do with that when that gravitational field wreaks havoc with them and their ship. See, my father was deeply involved in research regarding gravity, space, and the ability to move through space, dimensions, and even time. Time? Mike looks at Dradgen for some clarification, but Dradgen's just as baffled by it. Gora stands and paces in his cell. Every world dreams of going backwards and forwards in time. The thing is, I can't share my knowledge while I'm caged here. I can't share this information until I feel comfortable. I feel so very constrained. You're an animal, so you're caged like one, Dradgen says. Ver stands up, having heard enough. I can't do this anymore, Gora. We have to set aside our pride and work with the enemy, or all will be lost. Gora's face twists and contorts as he glares at his second in command. You dare defy me? Ver laughs. We're not in command of anything anymore, Gora. Sabal has a taste of power and he'll gladly kill us himself so he can maintain the hold he has over our world. We are here rotting in jail cells for the sins committed by our forces. I've done my best to maintain the Altilian line with these things, but it's far easier to do that until you consider all that the humans have done for us. We're alive. We would not have afforded them the same luxury, not even one of them. Altel doesn't take prisoners unless we can train them to do tricks like they did with Trake, or unless they amuse us in some other fashion. You were coy earlier, and now you want to resume your hardline stance. Mike smiles at Ver. Nice to see you have some common sense. I'm not saying you have a lot of it, but there's something rattling around in that brain of yours. I want to be outside of this cage. It really is that simple, Gora says, maintaining his stance. I do not want to provide you with the information and not be a... I do not want to provide you with information and not be a party to what you do with that information. Millions of my kind have been killed. I'm trying to maintain my calm, knowing that Sabel's lack of knowledge is likely to lead to the destruction of Altelian society. I was raised to believe that we are superior in every way, and that humanity is the scourge of the galaxy. We all are. It doesn't apply to our current dilemma, Ver adds. Dragden steps towards the two Altelians and tries to keep himself rational and objective. There was an attack on Altel. Apparently Gora has some clue as to who might have carried this out. Now the games that are being played here baffle me. The force capable of such an attack certainly can and will strike again, if you're not concerned about the fate of your world. You aren't concerned about Altel's fate, Gora says angrily. You're concerned this same force will try to attack Earth, Altair, or Falteres. You're concerned that such a great powerful enemy can't be repulsed by any of us. That's what brought you here, so trying to play this off as if I have no power is rather untrue. I have total power here. I could just decide I'd rather see the galaxy burn than save it. I could even be lying to you if I talk and leave you in a worse position than you are in this moment. Jenny Keenan bursts into the room without ringing herself in. She's short of breath. Seeing angry eyes trained on her, she manages a weak smile. Yeah, I hate to break this up, but we have a problem. The ship we sent, E215, yeah, it's gone. What do you mean gone? Mike asks. It was sending information to us and suddenly stopped. We can't find any trace of it, and we're concerned the gravitational forces tore it apart, Jenny replies. Looks like you have yourself a problem, Gora says with a twisted smile. It's your call, General. The man who might be of some assistance is a prisoner. Mike lowers his head and wishes there was a better option available to him. And let's see. I kill everybody there. Everybody comes back to life there. Oh. It's weird how I got the Sesame Street characters thrown in there, right? I'm pretty sure that might be against the copyright, but we'll get to that. Okay, one last scene. Addison pours himself another beer from his pitcher, looking across the table at his son Jim. It's been awkward. It's been a matter of Addison trying to touch base with each of his 4 sons in the midst of some strange circumstances. He had never had any sort of sexual relations with Marianne Webster, their mother. She had obtained the essential genetic material through lies and questionable tactics as a nurse at a hospital he had briefly stayed at. For the Webster boys, they were grateful their father was a good man. There was some pride that the blood that flowed through their veins was at least partly that of a surviving human world from Conley, one that had been destroyed by the Altelian war machine. During the germ warfare the Altelians had waged against a series of arcologies, the Webster brothers had all been immune to the attacks, and it was then that the truth regarding their lineage came out. And it was also then that Addison stopped living as a carefree playboy among the Earthlings and accepted his role as a leader for Earth. Addison didn't see himself as a military man. He hadn't officially joined the forces, but he did see himself as a senior advisor, and he stayed close to Mike Translow as the war unfolded. He had seen his own people get wiped out, and he would fight to save Earth and Falteres from the same fate. He had nightmares about Earth being left as a wasteland and people approaching him from the rubble, accusing him of not doing enough to prevent this happening to them. The guilt he felt for leaving his own world was hard enough for him to deal with. Now he had to deal with the pressure from Earth as well. He was determined to do his best and hoped they were able to overcome a force that is stronger than they are and has more in terms of sheer numbers. He didn't feel he'd done enough for Conley and everyone on his world, and he'd waited too long to even fight back. Now as he sits across from Jim, Addison feels somewhat at peace with his life. It isn't the perfect way to become a father, but he's learned to roll with the punches. He wasn't called Dad by the boys. That wasn't necessary in this case, and he didn't view them as his sons as much as they were his last living brothers. It's good beer, Jim says as he takes a sip and tries to think of a starting point for this conversation. Manages to laugh after that. It's always a little weird when it's just us, isn't it? Addison nods. I am trying to connect with you guys. I'm impressed with the work you guys have done in the military. I was actually hoping to see Rob and Steve here. Yeah, they have something going on in one of the mineral mines on Jupiter. It's dangerous work, very volatile and all. I hope to see them soon. They're good guys. They really grew up after what happened to Mom, Jim says, his voice trailing off at the end. You guys have been through a lot. Just never take family for granted, Addison says, his thoughts turning to the ones he lost as he takes another sip of his beer. The pain does fade, I'll attest to that. It's been a long time, though. I still sometimes see a woman and think it might be my wife. I know that sounds stupid. Addison, that seems perfectly normal to me, Jim says. 3 armed men rush into the bar that they're sitting at. It's unusual to see someone panicked on the pizza store. It stands out to both Addison and Jim, their conversation stopping in its tracks. I wonder what they're all worked up about, Addison says, and one of the 3 men rushes over to their table. Mr. Marks, we have to talk to you. What is it? They're allowing Gore out of his cell. Mike Translow has been talked into taking them on some mission he has. Something to do with E-215, the second man says, while the third man slowly looks around as if he expects a sniper to show up. Oh, no, he hasn't, Addison says and jumps up from his seat. Where are they? Heading out for the main bay. I don't know where they plan to take Gora, but I think they're letting Ver out as well. We knew that you would be against it, and maybe you could talk him out of this madness. If he can't, I will, Jim says, and he pats Addison on the shoulder. The 2 of them rush out of the bar and towards the landing bay where they intend to head off Mike and his party. That's the end of that scene. So, the future is bleak. But why is the future bleak? And that's what we get into. That's what we get into. So, yeah, we're getting into the whole idea of, so, is it the future? Is it parallel? Where is it? Like, yeah. So, yeah, we are, how many more pages? 96 pages from the end. And the end has an epilogue in it, too. The epilogue's about 5 pages, or 4 pages. I could read the epilogue now.
No.
Elmo sits next to Ernie. Ernie says, have you seen the number 8? Then Cookie Monster comes into the... This is, it's going to make total sense when you get there. I know it doesn't make sense right now, but it makes total sense once you get there. I'm really surprised that it's been fine. So, maybe someday I'll write real science fiction and have the Canucks win the cup. I'll write some real science fiction. So... will be like, I don't know, that alien abduction thing, that seems plausible, but that Canucks winning the cup thing, that's a bridge too far there, Mr. Sir. I don't think you can do that. So, there you go. We are 246 pages into the 342-page trilogy. And, yeah. So, hopefully you guys are still enjoying it. I know my wife's really bored of it.
I'm not.
That's why she just doodles while I'm doing this. And drops a pin again.
I did drop one.
Again?
I thought, yeah, here it is. I thought I could see it.
You're just waiting until the day that one goes on the treadmill and it sticks to the treadmill, and then while I'm doing my jog, I step on it and then I scream and there's blood all over the place, and then you can come in and laugh about it.
I have stepped on many pins myself.
Yeah, that's what you're waiting for, is that you can turn me into a pin cushion and then get a good laugh out of it.
Why would I
don't know. It's your big plan. Someday the big plan's going to get revealed, and then we're all in trouble.
I don't have very good plans then.
No. I don't want to take that madness board apart.
Did you take a picture of it?
Not yet.
You should take
But I
a
should,
picture of it.
because it's pretty.
Yeah.
It's a lot of madness.
That took you a long time.
It was hours. It was just going to be something fun, and then it became hours.
You don't do just simple.
I was like, holy crap. Because I looked at the time and like, it's been 2.5 hours. What am I doing? But then I couldn't stop.
Right.
I was like, well, all right, in for a penny, in for a pound. And I had to just keep going.
That's how you do things.
The madness boards are almost never planned to be madness. I've even told you a few times, like, I should do a madness video, and then I don't. And then one showed up today. And I never know how it's going to perform, or if anybody's actually going to watch it, or if it's just going to sit.
People are just going to tell you you're stupid.
Well, that's a given. It's
Right.
the internet. So somebody I used to work with was saying she's dealing with an online troll on a Facebook page she moderates. So if anybody has any experience with trolls, message me. So I messaged her. We'll see how that conversation goes, because I've dealt with trolls. We've dealt with trolls.
definitely have.
Yeah, a lot of trolling on the internet right now because a lot of people are just angry, being stuck at home and being out of work and broke. And I get it, I do. Decorum though shouldn't be dead, so we'll just keep the decorum thing going. So, you know, right?
Mm-hmm.
We can do that. Someday I'll finish the happiness index and the unhappiness index thing too. That I did one season of, and then went, screw it, this is just going to be too much work. So the big 4x3 board there, it's a lot of work. It's a lot.
Yeah.
I know in my head how I want it to work, but it becomes a lot of work. And then it's one of those things too that when I throw it together, the whole internet's going to go, oh, this guy's already got a chart, and there'll be some really nice pie chart. And I'll be like, oh, all right, so that's the same information I got. All right, great. I'm glad I wasted my life. So, all right. And that's how it works. When I'm not doing videos, I'm looking around at boards and on videos I can do next. And, yeah, low points for Dallas. I'm using that logo for it. So
there you go.
you think that works?
Yep.
I'm going to have to grab that jersey, too, for the low points for Dallas, I think. Because I love it, but people don't. So, all right. Thank you guys so much for watching as always. This, of course, is my Rammstein America shirt, which I love. This is fantastic. We're all living in America. And the weird thing is the hoodie version of this has the flag on the back, and we're all living in America on the front. And I don't understand why the t-shirt's one way and the hoodie's the other. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense.
It's a mystery.
All right. Thanks for tuning in. And we'll see how Mike and John and the boys get through this in our next installment. Thank you guys again for all your support. And I hope everybody's healthy and happy and safe out there. Or at least healthy and safe. Or safe and happy. Or happy and safe and have. It's just 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Like that was Mick Jagger saying that, right? What was it, John Lennon? 2 out of 3 ain't bad. It was on the same album as Nobody Told Me There'd Be Days Like These and Another Brick in the Wall, right?
Dork. Okay.
All right.
Anyways.
Okay. Thank you guys again for all your support, and I will talk to you again soon.